Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the Morocco channel with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show, great topic, great guest. You've seen her, you've heard her, you've watched her shows. She's our star actually on the channel. And her shows are like, replaying over and over and with different topics, different guests on her own. But today she is our guest. She is our star and we highlight her today. So with me today, without any further ado, Dr. Hynd Bouhia, and you've seen her in the Women Empowerment series on the channel, and if you follow her on YouTube and her own channel, the Facebook, the Instagram, the social media, she's very busy. She's also an author, and her book just came out. It's on bestseller on Amazon, so go check it out. And we'll not spoil in the title of it right now. She's going to talk about it in a minute. So without any further ado, again, Hynd, welcome, Dr. Hynd. Come on, with us and tell us about your story.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be with you. This is great.
Well, listen, it's an honor and a pleasure, and I love the work you do.
Thank you.
And like I said, you do a lot for many, and you highlight, a lot of great folks from all over the world, the great women. And today's your show. Today is about you. So
today I'm the star of
you're
your
the
show.
Star. well, it's still your show. It's not mine. This is
okay.
It is your show, and it's amazing. You mentioned keyword star, and you do that for people. You highlight people all the time and their work and their contributions around the world, and more specifically women. But before we get into that whole aspect of your work, let's talk about who is Dr. Hynd and her background, her journey into today.
Sure. Amazing. Well, I am a mother of four. That's the first thing that came to my mind to really identify who I am. I started as an engineer, and then I went to Harvard where I got my PhD in environmental engineering and economic development. So I was really interested in sustainability and sustainable development. And it was in the 90s where it's really the beginning of this wave about sustainability. So it felt natural after my PhD to go to the World Bank where I worked on development, on a mission of a world free of poverty. So it was such a blessing and such a privilege to be part of where strategies are being made to help countries set up new policies, set up new action plans to alleviate poverty, to improve their development, their growth, and also to have a sustainable impact in whatever they do. And so I worked in different countries. So I traveled the world in my late 20s and early 30s. So that was a fun part of being in Washington for 8 years and covering Latin America, Southeast Asia, MENA region, the Middle East and North Africa. So it was fun. So I have a career after my PhD of 20 years where I worked on strategy, on development, on finance, on investment, on sustainability. And then, I think it's 3 years ago now, I have shifted to dedicate my work to and my mission to empower women so that they can grow confident, resilient, they can become tech savvy and financially free and take on the world. So that's what I do now. That's me.
Well, that's a lot of stuff, and so I want to break it down a little bit because first of all, your first part of the world, right, of the work and your career. Well, first I want to say thank you for saying that you are a mother of four, and that is not easy. And
Yeah,
I think that's a hard job on its own, but you're doing
it's
that
true
with
because when you asked me, I was like, I'm going to introduce myself. The first, I'm a mother of four because they are around me. It's Wednesday afternoon, and anytime any one of them will show up. So I was like,
well,
well, let's get it set.
they're
I'm a mom
welcome.
of four.
They're welcome to the show. But that's powerful because I think we're going to talk about that when we talk about the woman empowerment piece. And part of women's tradition is being a mother for the most part, and balancing that with life and business and stuff is always a big question. And I know you've done it well, and you're doing it well, and so maybe we can get some tips from you to all other women, because to your point, some folks may say, well, I can't do it because I have to take care of my kids, I got to do this, and they get lost with that, but they don't discover the talent, they don't actually pursue their dreams. And so we'll talk about that. But so you mentioned something about you being an engineer. That's actually something I didn't really know about you. So so that's great. And then
Yeah,
now
I'm an industrial engineer.
there you go. So
See?
that's powerful. I mean, you think industrial engineer, you think something different. I'm sorry.
It's true. And one of my first internship, I did them in Schlumberger in this oil things and thermal platform. Like really,
All right. Well,
I loved that word. It was like, oh wow, so man word. It's only man. It's like I was the only woman.
well, so that's an interesting thing, right? Because again, we are in the Morocco channel. You are Moroccan,
Yeah, I
and
am.
and that is not something you see all the time, and you hear about it in the Moroccan culture. I mean, more now than ever, but that's something powerful, and that's also like you're a pioneer, I would say, in a lot of areas. And you talked about sustainability and the ecosystem and working in that world, and you're talking about poverty around the world and so on and so forth. Now, again, this is a channel that is dedicated to Moroccans of the world, and or entities that have interest in Morocco, and really highlighting not issues, but really the talents that we have, and potentially really give advice and another field for our Moroccan folks all over the world. And it's in English. It is the first English channel, so that hopefully we can start building this platform this way, because I mean, as you know, we're more French and Arabic culture, so this is going to be
Becoming English. It's becoming
I
English.
know, and so we're ahead of it now. So
There you go.
we're developing the channel so the next generation can have something where they can just tune in, right? But really, the working system, sustainability, and the ecosystem and all this stuff is powerful, because that's where we need to be in the future as a whole. And you've contributed to that. I mean, 20 years you mentioned, that's plenty of time, and all over the world. But you've seen a lot, and you've also contributed a lot to the country, because Morocco is one of the countries that have really embarked into a journey to change and even reach and become more sustainable in a lot of areas and things like that. And even though it's not one of the top countries in the economy, but they get in there. I mean, there's a lot of advancement that are happening today and in the last literally 20 years. I mean, since the King Mohammed VI, has taken, the realm. I mean, it's just been, one year after the other with advancements and technology and expansion. It's great stuff that's happening there. And, but it's also because of you and the people of your like that are working and making it happen and really raising the bar for things that can be really, positive in the world. And so the signature, and today, I mean, obviously I got the shirt, and
I can see that.
we are celebrating the win for the Moroccan
The
team.
win from Sunday.
Yeah.
We're waiting for another one tomorrow.
Yes, and so that would be awesome stuff. So hey, listen, from here, let's go Atlas Lions. Make it happen, make us proud. You got this, right? But so let's talk about that work, the sustainability. Like, what are some of the things that you've really done and that have an impact today that you can probably literally enumerate quickly
On the sustainability, it's like in here.
Yeah.
I think what has a great impact is the awareness that is today generalized about the importance of protecting the planet, preparing, the future generation. And Morocco has been quite pioneering in renewable energies. In fact, one of the largest solar platform is based in Morocco, taking the lead in that. And that's something that shows a lot of strategic thinking and action plans that are really to pave the way to all the private and the public sector to work together so that we can become sustainable in terms of energy production and also in all the other sectors. I mean, I think Morocco, we go back to even water. I mean, I worked on water early on, and there was a policy of building a dam per year from Hassan II.
Yes.
And that really showed the early awareness about the importance of water management and, being able to set up the infrastructure so that, because agriculture, made up that time 60% of the GDP. So it was very important work for job creation. So it always was related somehow to natural resources, to water, and then later on water management, water strategy, and the same for energy. That's more in the last decade where we become so pioneer in terms of solar and wind energy. So sustainability, you see it wherever you go. And so many projects, so many initiatives are confirming the mobilization at the highest level and also throughout the different decision-making spheres, but really moving forward and getting closer to the global development goals of the UN.
Oh, that's a lot. and by the way, Doctor, Morocco, if I'm not mistaken, is also taking a lead in Africa. In a lot of parts of Africa, they are actually the ones who are kind of almost leading some of these efforts in some other countries today. And again, it's because they've already put their little signature in some of these areas, and they're moving towards that. Even, I mean, you take Morocco 30 years ago, 40 years ago compared to today, it's a whole different country if you think about it from everything, right? Even power to power Europe versus the Morocco country was the little guys next to the European giant,
No
but now no more. Exactly. So that's already changing, especially some economies actually in Europe actually are lesser powerful than actually the Moroccan economy today. And, even in terms of, advancements and things like that, we're already there. So that's actually something to be proud of. And really, again, thank you for the work you've done and people who are like you, who are contributing to those efforts. And so again, like I said, this is about you. You're the star, and this is one thing you started on, and one of the areas that you've really put a nice little, signature.
Yeah, I mean, I have such a passion for sustainability, and I mean, I've worked on those different fields with such a depth. My PhD was about water management and how you link that to development. Then I worked on the energy strategy. So it's really, and to me, these natural resources are the root of what makes the growth, what makes the development, what makes a country or an economy thrive. And so you can see, it's like, if you ask me, it's like I have looked at it from every part, from the engineering, the economic, the financial part. So I'm loving it. But what I realize now is that behind all of those development goals we talked about, of sustainable development goals, right, of the UN, the basis for it is gender equality. Whatever sector you talk about. You talk about industry, it's gender equality issue. You talk about agriculture, gender equality. You talk about education, gender equality. You talk about health, gender equality. You talk about water, you talk about energy. So what is seen to be crossing through all of that is, what do you do to have women stand in her power so that she can contribute to advance those goals?
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So it just came naturally that to be able to advance in all of this, because we love all the sectors, you're like multidisciplinary, multicolors, multi-sectors, everything matters. But underlying all of that, the foundation is gender equality. And women empowerment is at the roots of gender equality. So you empower women, you reach gender equality. You reach gender equality, you advance in everything. See?
I love it. So let's. That's a perfect segue to, because I think that was the next. We're gonna go into the women empowerment piece of it, and I love what you said about that, because you're right. I mean, it's been dominated male kind of world, over centuries, and then in some cultures more than others,
I think
and and it's been crazy. But
heritage from years.
I know it's just, well, it's culture, and I want to leave it at that, because there is, most people can sometimes kind of mix up the idea of religion versus culture and so on and so forth.
It's like it's a very deep, like, paradigm in the subconscious mind that we have inherited through the years.
It is, and we've seen it change in the world, in the Western world, over the latter part of the century, or this last century and this one. I mean, it's been progressive, but even again, the women movement, liberation movement in the States, in the early 70s, it's not that far back. Sometimes we think that it's like really a long time ago, but it's not. And even today, there's a whole movement going on, right, about especially in the movie industry and so on and so forth. There's big stuff. But you're right. But when we talk about like a culture such as Morocco, and sometimes people think like we're still living in the Bronze Ages, right? Which is not true, because we can go back in history, and one of the first universities in the world, if not the first university, was started by a woman, and that's in Fez. And so there exactly. So we have some history where in our culture, we've had some advancements and pioneering back in the days, but it hasn't been explored, to the extent where it is today. And you're right. I don't think there's anything that a male or a female cannot do equally in terms of the work. I mean, it's been always a misconception, well, this is a woman's job, this is a man's job. And that's why I played that whole thing about the engineering, because overall, when you think engineering, it was more of a male, dominant world, and it was not. But that's changed already, and you're a terrific example to show that that's not the case. And although Morocco is actually culturally very advanced in a lot of ways and more modernized to maybe compared to other cultures in the Arabic world, for example, Africa, but it's changed a lot. And the last 20, 30, 40 years have shown that. I mean, we have pilot women, we have people that are like, engineers, we have people that doing all kind of stuff. And, but, so I want to ask you, from your opinion, what you think were some of the contributors to that culture, or that thought process where the women should be just at home? Because I think that's where it started, right? Women should not be participating in everything. Let the man handle the stuff. They should be taking care of their kids and don't worry about everything else. We're the providers. They can't do this. They're not equal, and so on and so forth. And which was all wrong ideology, because that's not even what our practice, even if we talk religion, that's not really what the religion says, but it's just been, pretty much convoluted, with ideology that is completely wrong. So what would you say to that part of, just the root about it? And then let's see what was put in place to change that slowly in the last decades, and then where we are today.
Well, let's look at it in a very primitive way. Okay. So men were hunters, right? So they will go hunt. They will go get the thing to hunt. So that's what they did. And women were like, they would go and pick up little fruits. So they were into the details, sitting where they are, and they pick up things. They micro detail manage things. So just naturally, that moved towards having the men go getting things outside the house, and then the woman is made for details and for taking care of things. And it just becomes so anchored in the underlying part of our subconscious mind that it had a force on its own. Nobody needed to say that. It was like self-fulfilled as the way to be. So we didn't need to say it anymore. It was just inherited generation after generation. That's the way we are. And it's only when now men and women go outside the house, they work, they come, they are equal outside. Man doesn't go hunt anymore. No, it's not the same way. But the women go also and work. And that's so from that very basic understanding or definition of the differences, we needed to recreate a new model inside our subconscious mind, where women are accepted to go work. It's okay. She can do that. She can make money. She can be respected. She can also be a mom in the same time and take care of her children. But she needed to change so many of those habits, all those old beliefs that were so anchored inside the subconscious mind. They had a life on their own. It's like we were robots, but programmed with all of those beliefs and history and compartments, if you will, for each one's role. And so it takes time. It takes a will. It takes a lot of discipline and perseverance about how you can create a new programming where men and women can work and they are loved and respected the same way. When a mother can be a mother and still be such a big leader and CEO, and she still have a beautiful partner and a beautiful home, and just being able to balance all of that. And that takes a lot of new way of thinking, new way of being, and anchoring new beliefs, so that the underlying waves that were like, no, you don't do that because you're a woman, you sit here. And if you do that, you're not going to be married. If you have that, you're not going to be able to have children. And if you have that, he's going to be upset because he's jealous. He doesn't like women who has money. And so you have all these stories. And you need to shut down this voice because this voice is strong. So you need to create a model that is so strong that it's override that's all belief and paradigm that we carry from many, 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 many years. So far away.
Well, thank you, Doctor. And you know, I'm listening to you, and you're really highlighting some of the, I think the intricate stuff that's been part of, you know, our heritage, or to your point, culture. And by the way, this is worldwide. And again, some countries just got, you know, out of it sooner than others. But really, culturally, it was still in the Moroccan culture that's still in even parts today. I mean, you still have that, like, you know, oh, a woman needs to be there, somebody's going to marry her, blah blah blah, and you know she's going to wait for somebody to bring that fortune to her, and you know, be careful if you don't do that, and if you don't, and there's an age limit to all these things, and you know, you have
and don't
certain
be too smart because they don't like it.
Exactly. So you have all these
don't talk too much.
But you're right. So but those were like things that, you know, I mean,
we've been told as young girls.
I was raised by, you know, a very open mind family. And personally, you know, my dad and my mom was always like, you know, she's actually the boss, you know, and my dad was the cool guy, and, you know, it was all good. And I've seen that
well,
balance.
That's what you are, who you are.
There's a good possibility, and I give him all the thanks for you know, because again, this upbringing, right? But what I wanted to say is that you said something from the history, you know, that I just wanted to highlight, because when you really deeply think about it, you know, that what you mentioned about the men at the time were hunting and the women were doing the detail stuff. That itself shows that they were equal. They just have different functions, and yes, they balanced each other. So,
thank you.
So the fact of the matter is that, you know, if within creation, right, man and woman to complement each other every part of the way, there was no kind of like, you know, this is this, you know, we have people who use sometimes religion, and they focus on the idea, for example, inheritance laws and stuff. There are rules and there are reasons behind the rules, and we're not even going to go there. But it's just the interpretation of the rules and how they do it. But some people use it to their advantage and play these cards, and it became more of a commodity. Like, you know, we're going to keep the women doing this because this is it. And even families, and sometimes the education also was a problem. You know, the fact that, you know, literacy or lack of literacy sometimes can make a problem, you know, in the minds of people, and sometimes how they behave. And that's, again, culturally, it was like acceptable. And whenever someone says, no, we're going to challenge this, oh, you know, oh my God, you know, and why not? And to your point, there's no reason why you cannot balance out these things. There's some people say, well, there's different hormonal stuff. It doesn't matter. We all have hormones. Everybody's got their own, you know, problems. So at the end of the day, you know, and there are people that still think that a woman is much smarter and stronger than 100 men, you know, on any given day, you know, in terms of the logic. So the problem is just that culturally, it's just hasn't been, you know, programmed that way for years and centuries. And then as the shift has begun, you know, in the century, and the latter century and this one, you know, things have moved tremendously. And again, Morocco has, I mean, a very diversified, you know, workforce. It's getting there in terms of, you know, again, I wouldn't say they're 100%, and not even, I think, in the States and some other parts in the Western world are that way 100%, but it's getting there. And, I think what the problem is that people are scared sometimes. Like, what is this world going to go into? Is this going to be a women world versus a men world? And when we look at it from that angle, we see a problem. But that shouldn't be the angle to look at. It's just, do we advance? Are we doing good? Are we balanced? Are we getting the results? Are we having happy families? And then you have some people that would debate with you, for example, well, the divorce rate is going up. Why is that? Oh, because, now everybody's working, they're not seeing each other. Maybe they're seeing other people, and gets too political more than it should be. And people can interpret that any way they want because of their interest. I mean, I can change the paradigm and dynamic based on my tune, right? And everybody uses that. It is unfortunate. But I love what you said about how it changed, and there is no reason why a woman cannot be CEO and balance stuff and do stuff. I mean, my wife, she has her own business. I support her. She supports me. We have kids. We do a lot of stuff. And sometimes people are like, how do you do it and balance that? And she still cooks. She does her stuff. I mean, I cook too, but I'm actually forbidden from the kitchen because I don't cook well. So that's a different story. But not because
that's a good way to be forbidden out from the kitchen for.
Well, she doesn't like people in her space, but like, it's all about that balance, right? And sometimes we often think about I mean, her and I, we have these discussions. We almost did a show about this, and we kind of didn't do it yet. But for example, in the States, we have this problem, right, where there are people that come in. Ladies that are immigrants, they come in and married, but they're not open to this world. I mean, they basically are their homes. They don't know how to go to the bank. They don't know how to do anything. They don't have to drive, whatever. And sometimes all it takes is the husband. Well, not even confidence. If the husband, God forbid, something happens to that person, they're stuck. And we've seen those examples happen where these people just got stuck. They don't know where to go, what to do. They have kids. They don't speak the language. And it's challenging. I mean, this is just, I'm talking an example that's in the West today, in the US. But in Morocco, it's a little different. I mean, obviously they have family and things like that. So it changes the dynamics. But the idea is it is still an equal plane. And there is no difference when it comes to the abilities. And again, I've had more teachers and bosses personally as women than men, in my life. And so I actually have been surrounded, with that ideology, and I never had a problem with it. It just seems to be fine with me, right? But not everybody has that. I think that's the problem. Sometimes in some parts of the culture, it is still old school, and like, this is not for you. You're gonna do this stuff? I mean, you can't. You're a woman. I mean, it's wrong, right? But so your work really has taken it to the other extent, where you are actually a pro women empowerment, and you are about equal gender equality and balance, and you've done the work, and you not only you are proof yourself of success, but you also are doing the work around the world. And your shows are clearly bringing the superstars of all over the parts of the world. And I've seen a lot of your guests. They're from all over the continent.
Yes,
I think you've covered all of them. You've covered all of them, and different cultures, different religions, and they all have similar themes. They all are, into this whole concept where it is available, it is possible, it is working. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, of course, some people may criticize even this show, like, oh, what is this, talk about? Well, this is just, first of all, like I always say to people, a woman is your mother. That's the first. A woman could be your sister, your wife, your daughter, and your aunt, your uncle. So there's so much stuff that you are surrounded, and the power of women is important to you and your life, personal and in business. Because to your point, if they're not there, it's like, I think the first lesson, the first school is your mom. The first, everything is your mom. Everything comes from your mother more than your dad. And some people may disagree with me. I personally have that personally. I mean, my mom was a big influence in my life, and her strength and how she was and stuff. And it's important. And I appreciate everything she's done for me. You know what I mean? But some people may not see it that way because, again, the culture is still not there. But when you talk to the world as a whole, and you have different people and guests and successful, women from all over the world, what do you get from them in terms of like the similarities and the common denominators?
I love this question because that's what I wanted to build on when you said some people might think power women. But
I know.
every woman has a story behind her. And in every story, there is a hint of suffering, either herself or suffering from a generation before that she carries with her. And so whoever look at things and get annoyed by maybe the word, maybe the fact that we celebrate some of their successes, celebrate some of their achievements, we do that because it had came after a long journey of understanding who they are, what they stand for, how they deserve to be loved and respected. And that's a long journey. So behind each one is such a beautiful, long story. And it's only when you are able to see the humanness in people will you be able to understand what's the story behind empowerment and women empowerment. And I think more we talk about it, and in your show, which is incredible, and I salute you for doing that, we are able to start shifting from the old beliefs that are the old habits, the old paradigm, to start creating new models where there is more empathy. I work on women empowerment, but I work on leadership, a leadership full of love and empathy. And I'm studying that from the woman perspective, because when you look at it, they are the one that are carrying much suffering than any other one, because we are made this way. We are made, to have to do many things and to be able to do them and smile in the same time. We are made to carry our children and be happy and smile to them because they are expecting that joy and life force from you. While you know that you have gone through all the transformation, the pain, do it all, and you still give birth and you smile to a happy baby who is born so perfect. You see, that's being a woman. And so if someone doesn't understand what this empowerment comes from, it means that he's looking at it we're forgetting what humanness is. And that's what we want to bring more in this word, is to bring more humanness, to bring more empathy, to see people through who they are, to see someone succeeding and loving the human behind who was able to succeed, not being jealous and feeling, oh, it annoys me, I don't want to see him. No. And more we see that love and that empathy, more we calibrate to that type of power. That's calibration. You calibrate. So all these women, if you understand that humanness and the story behind it, and you connect with real love from in you, letting go of that negative energy that makes you feel like, why her, why not me, why this, what annoying us, then you are able to play in the game of leadership with empathy, leadership with greatness, leadership with impact. And that's the game we play. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. You see?
I see it and I love it. And so you're talking about leader, the word leadership, right? And leading. And I think your book and your concept is it. And so let's talk about that, because I think that's really, you have a whole concept, so the acronym B.A.L, I guess that's the acronym. And so let's talk about it, because I think this is a perfect, connection to the work you do and the type of work and the breakdown of how you present it, and in your workshops, in your master classes, as well as your shows, and then now in the book. And it's got a system in place, and the system can provide a balance. And I mean, when you see the acronym B.A.L, I mean, that's like the short for balance.
It is. It's not funny. It's the short for balance. That's so true.
I know.
Yeah. And I always find myself around balance somehow. It's true. I'm Libra. So I guess that's maybe why.
I guess we don't have to go far, right? But life is about balance, right? And
everything is about balance. Thriving is about balance.
Well, the universe is great on balance, right? I mean, everything is the cell level, is on in the balance format.
It's and the balance starts with balancing the masculine and the feminine energy. It's the balance of both that makes us thrive.
But Doctor, this is where we can go back to, for those people who believe, and I think most of the people would believe in the creation. And I'm not talking about those that may deny it, but if you think of Adam and Eve, as our fathers or grandfathers, they were basically there to complement each other, to create balance. One the other. So it's not like, one versus the other. It was together. The world was created in that concept. You can't have one without the other. And that's the thing. And whether it's in life, in social, in business, it's all the same. Even in our culture, in our religion, if you think about it, Prophet, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he had, a balance with his family, and his first wife, was actually a businesswoman. So there, some people can deny and have this discussions, and I don't like to get into the religious part, but even from that end, if we go and discover that and really get into it, we'll find that this is not contradictory to those teachings. And it's unfortunate that we lose this because we don't think about it that way. We just think about it because it's benefit. Most people will do like, well, it doesn't benefit me, so I can't have you do that because it's a problem. And we've seen good results where people can be balanced, male and female, husband and wife, and actually a good relationship, a good family is based on that balance. So enough of that, but let's talk about, your balance, your B.A.L, and how it works. And how do you come up with that, actually? Because it's pretty cool, the way you did it.
It's interesting. I know we came up with it. I woke up and I'm like, that's my method, because I was looking for a method to change people's life around. Like, really, truly, that's what I was. I faced some challenges in my corporate world when I was an entrepreneur. And in facing those challenges, I had the choice either to stay in the dark, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm done. It's over. I'm going to let the system, everything, just, I'm done. Or I looked at my children, and mainly my girls, and I'm like, no, I am their role model. I cannot be completely crushed when I need to stand as a role model. And so I was able, and I almost promised myself, I said, if I'm able to come back, create something meaningful, find joy, create wealth again, I will give this to every woman. I want them to become millionaires. That was like my promise to myself. And so in this process, I was really doing and observing, So I was really understanding, studying the energetics, the mindset, the subconscious mind, successful people, whoever, a lot of very successful have gone through failure and stood back up. So, and that's the first book, which is African Girl, African Woman. It has a lot of that, where I looked at women who are the women who made it? How did they make it? And that's why when I said about empowerment, they all have a story of struggle, story of suffering, story of grief, story of standing back up. And so that's how I'm like, okay, it all starts with finding the belief in yourself. And that's the first phase of this method, which is believe. Believe in yourself, believe in the possibilities, believe in a better life, believe in a better future, believe in your strength, believe in inner power, believe in a light inside you. And then when you believe that tiny, tiny spark that you have, it could be as small as being able to sleep comfortably and wake. When you get up in the morning and you can hold on to that small, tiny spark you have, just as small as having a good bed where you can sleep and breathe in oxygen in the morning, and be grateful of being alive, being grateful of having one more day. And I think that, it compounds with the gratitude. But when we are overwhelmed with problems, overwhelmed with challenges, overwhelmed with issues, we forget the basics. And so that's really the understanding of vibrations, energetics, how you can turn your life around by understanding your paradigm, your subconscious mind, and how it all functions. So that's the first phase. And the second one is taking action. That's the engineer in me. And I'm like, okay, now you believe it's good. You're not going to sit there and look at the stars. You need to take actions. And it's about being strategic, do the branding, do the planning, set up the strategy and work, do the thing. It's not about having a good idea, it's doing. And a lot of people's like, oh, I have this great idea, I have this thing. And I'm like, what are you waiting for? Go do it. If it fails, it doesn't matter. You start again because you know how to bring yourself back up. And that's why it's an iterative process where until you lead, which is the third phase, through all of this, through your belief, through your actions, through your understanding, through your own growth, through your own evolution, because life is a process of evolution and growth. And more you deepen that understanding, whatever happens to you brings you to a level that is higher in terms of your own growth, in terms of your own evolution. And that's how I came out with this Believe, Act, Lead, which is B.A.L as an acronym. B.A.L method, B.A.L for balance, B is for believe, B is for bliss, B is for balance, A is for taking actions of being aligned with what you want, and the L is for leading, for leveling up, and for doing all this with love and empathy. That's what my method is. And it changes people's life. And I'm telling you, Hisham, I think the best celebration I could do is really when I see some women coming in the deepest part of her life, finding a new job, doubling her salary, getting new contracts, finding that spark that we lose. And sometimes women that are numb, feeling, they're fine. They're okay. I'm okay. Okay. And that okayness, it's stagnation. Stagnation doesn't take you far. It's like a plant. You cannot stagnate. You never see a plant the same way every day because it's comfortable. No, it either grow or you're just going to die. And that's who we are as human beings. We are thirsty for growth. We feel alive when we have a mission. We feel alive when we have something we work towards that we really love. When we have a voice that is in line with our stories, we align with what we believe and in line with a love for ourselves and for everyone else.
Powerful stuff. That's powerful stuff. But so I love the belief part because I think most of the people, and this is not about women only. I think everybody, men and women equal.
I have men who work with me too.
Yeah, but I'm saying in general, people don't believe in themselves. That's just in general. I mean, we have other shows about success.
Like in the deeper, it's like you when nobody's watching. What do you think about yourself when no one is watching?
The first fan is you. You're your first fan. If you're not really that good of a fan, you got a problem, right?
But when you are you are overwhelmed with the problems and overwhelmed with the guilt because you think it's your fault, and overwhelmed with the shame because you're like, oh, what are they going to think about me? Overwhelmed with they don't like me, they're not going to like me. What do you feel about you? All of that stuff.
But we see, doctor, that's the problem. We always worried about what other people think.
Yeah.
And the last person that you're worried about is you. Like, what do I think? And that's the thing where that makes a difference between success and not success. And and again, we're talking in the context of, women here empowerment, but overall it is the same rule across the board. But Absolutely. it just more or deeper, I would say, in the women, arena because of the culture and all the oppression that's been part of it and all the stuff that's actually been the baggage, I would call it, that's been carried on over the centuries. But then you start with the belief, but the key next item, and you said it best, is action. Actions speak louder than words. I mean, you can talk the talk, but you got to walk the walk. And you can dream all you want. I mean, my favorite quote is, some people dream of success, others wake up and work at it, right? You got to work at it. You got to take action. You got to step in and do it. It's not going to be easy. You said even if it fails, I don't even believe in failure personally. It's not a failure, just another attempt. It's just another test. So if you look at it that way, you're always going to have the positive end and you're going to continue doing. The worst case is when you stop. It's never going to end until you end it and don't stop. Just keep going and take the action. But then again, taking the action is one part. But the next level, to your point, is leveling up and leading. And now that's the power because somebody's got to lead your life. Somebody's got to lead your action. Somebody's got to do that. And exactly. Yeah. And now if you wait for other people to do it, well, my experience is that most people will tell you that you can't do it. Unfortunately, that's just reality. Most people will say, well, why you think you're going to do this? Other people didn't do it. That other people failed. I mean, we've been in business, my wife and I, for a few years, and we've heard those stories where people don't believe in you. I've had those, stories told to me when I was younger, and they're like, you can't do this. You won't be able to do this. We think you are, blah, blah, blah. Other people tried and they didn't make it. Well, I'm not other people. I'm just me, and I'm doing me, and I'm going to do me as long as I live, right? And I do it the best as I can, and I'll learn how to do better. But that's the difference. And in your world and the work that you do, you're transforming people. You are giving them. And by the way, sometimes it's just hearing it. A lot of these people are not exposed to it enough to see it. I mean, part of the work I do is to promote positivity, inspiration, motivation, and keep people pumped. And that's the thing in your work. And I've seen your master classes and your advice and stuff. It's really pumping. I mean, you watch one of those sessions and you're like, yeah, I can do this. I'm going to do this. Right. I mean, it is powerful. And you said that the feeling that you get, that you see people making a difference, you can. And even the people that may have doubts and maybe I'm not sure, once they get into a classroom, they just, that's the other thing. Like, you got to share that the energy, the vibe. And once you get exposed to it, it's like a drug. Like, I want more of this, and
I can do it.
I can do it. And everybody can. Everybody is, we talked about everybody's a star, everybody's special, everybody's unique. Everybody can do whatever they want. Problem is, are they digging enough to come up and raise to that occasion and say, like, I can do this? And sometimes they just don't have the motivation or the push, sometimes even the pull, like in your case, like you're pulling them, come in, let's do this. And then you get them into a point where like, this is cool. I can do this. I'm moving. And then you start seeing the success pattern. They're starting their own businesses. They're starting stuff. I know we have hard stuff. So we're gonna wrap it up. But really that's powerful work, right? It's amazing. So now just as we come into the last minutes of the show, what will be your advice to our audiences today? If one or two best things that you can leave them with as to what can they do to make that change? I mean, and also we want to make sure that they get your book and they also, inquire and reach out to you for more opportunities to learn from you.
I think the best advice is anyone can change his or her life around. It just make a decision. It's about making a decision. Just today, make the decision. And you are changing. You are changing to attract more abundance. You are changing to attract more wealth. You are changing to having an impact. And it starts by disciplining yourself into becoming that new person that is aligned with the new version of you that is successful. Feeling it, being it, believing in it, setting up an action plan and doing it. And get yourself disciplined until you reach it, even if you don't see the evidence of anything yet. It's about perseverance, it's about resilience, and it's about discipline. And it's inevitable at the end.
That's it. I'm not adding anything else. I think this is the best sum up that you can get. So, folks, there you have it. Dr. Hynd Bouhia with us today. Literally a powerful, session here. Do seek out her book. Do check out, the link, on the description of the show, and see about her master classes and how she operates, and all the things that she's doing out there. It's just powerful stuff. Doctor, thank you so much for being with us. It's been great. Always a pleasure and honor. And folks, thank you for being and watching and listening with us. And we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.